Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance that's bit in his eye. Well, he gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I drown my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober.
Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers. I'm your host Matty. I'm joined tonight so far by John. I think we have Brian joining us later, but we can't guarantee that, so don't get carried away. John, how are you doing?
I'm good. Did you say joined rather than joined?
Joined.
Wee Friday slip to start the night.
Might have done. We'll see how the night goes, eh?
Aye. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm delighted to be snowed in one more time. I don't know if you've got it up over on your side of the bridge, but it's been chucking it down with snow for probably the last couple of hours in sunny Livingston.
I was out in it earlier, so Jane's gym have given her kind of weekly challenges to do, and one of her challenges this week is to get 13,000 steps a day. So obviously that then becomes my challenge, because who wants to go walking 13,000 steps on their own?
That's a shift, like to try and get it in.
So there's a route that we can go out. We go out and you can walk up by the big Amazon building and come back around.
Yeah.
That's about 8,000 or 9,000. So then my pal came round for me, dropping off some IPA. So I'll come on to that in a wee second. But when I went out with my pal for a walk around Dulwich Park, it was absolutely horsing it down with snow, like ridiculously. So by the time we go back home, the street looked completely different from when we'd left in the space of less than an hour.
I'm just imagining you coming back looking like the abominable snowman.
It wasn't too dissimilar, to be fair. I had a big parka jacket on, and do you know how the parka jackets have got the big fluffy hoods?
I take it back, you probably looked like Brian Harvey when he was 17.
I like to think we're like Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back era Star Wars for opening, but that's the look I was going for.
I'll take your word for it, I can't quite remember.
Anyway, the furry bit of the hood was just covered in snow. I brought a ton of it back inside with me. I've taken away woolly hats out as well. I was wearing them to cover up my hair, but now I have no hair. Just to keep my head warm.
See, just a daft question. I'm sure most people probably do this, but see, when you come in for the snow, do you give your feet the obligatory bump against the step to get rid of the snow?
Off the wall. I've not got a step in my house, so off the side of the door.
Oh, fucking posh cut, eh?
Aye. That's it. Life's a bit flatter than Livingston. There knows many roundabouts either. So this IPA, we're talking about posh cunts, right? And I hasten to add, I didn't buy this. I'm not a huge IPA fan, but it's Earl Grey IPA, so I don't know if anybody's had that. And the reason I have to have an alcoholic beverage tonight is because we got slaughtered by Dave F of Hibs.net on Saturday for Quick Bang, where lots of people, in fact, Jamie had a cocktail, didn't he? And a couple of others had drinks. So now he's set the bar, so I felt I had to have an alcoholic drink. But this one in particular, why I wanted to use it was the people who made it are called the Yeasty Boys.
I could get on board with that.
Good. Aye.
I'm a big fan of the Beastie Boys.
Aye,
Not so much a fan of IPAs though. I kind of fight, especially, I think my biggest introduction, if that's how you want to describe it, to IPAs was probably Jukers. That's probably the best known one. And it just tastes a wee bit like flat lager. I'm not sure I can get on board with it.
Well, this is how this one looks. It
looks like
a little bit like a sample, doesn't it? I'm not sure I trust drinking it. It's like, it's fucking strong. Oh, have a wee.
Go for it. Test the bouquet.
Drinkable. Drinkable. Yeah. There's another one I've got here, which is called Loco Juice Tropical Pale. Don't know if you can see that. So if I finish this one, this is 6.something%, which is quite strong for a non-drinker like me. And this one's 4.something%. So I'll try and get through them both by the time we finish, and I'll give my verdict on them. Obviously, that's why people tune into Longbangers, to hear us fucking idiots talk shite about IPAs that neither of us drink.
Maybe we should have like an IPA or a lager tasting session, have people like tune in afterwards and try the same things.
Hi. Well, we're going to try something a bit different tonight anyway, because we're going to be talking about the Hibs and Aberdeen game. So I'm trying to find a space on my fucking desk to put the empty. Here we go. That'll get knocked off. No doubt land on the electrics below and ruin everything. Yeah, normally we only give the verdict from the Hibs perspective, but the Aberdeen match report was fucking stunning after the game. So I thought we would get the Aberdeen perspective to kick us off, John. So hopefully this works. We have got some music to accompany it. It's something we've done before.
Low-grade technology at its finest.
Well, this is it, right? So here goes. And I'm going to be reading a bit as well, which isn't the most exciting thing, but here goes. We hearing that?
Yep.
Excellent. Right. So an Aberdeen side clearly low in confidence slipped to defeat at Easter Road on another afternoon where, for all that they clearly came up short, nor were they helped by the officials or by Lady Luck, who appears to have taken 2021 off. There was drama after just 4 minutes as Greg Lee, heading towards his own goal, caught his foot in the turf. As he stumbled on the decidedly ropey-looking surface, he tried to stab the ball back to Joe Lewis, but left it short, leaving Cadden clean through. The captain stood up tall and made a terrific save, clawing the ball to safety. After treatment, a visibly distressed Lee had to make way, McLennan coming on to replace him. The Dons reorganised quickly and began to pen the hosts in. Following good play, Lewis Ferguson picked out Ross McCrory on the edge of the box in the 11th minute. He hit his shot crisply, Marciano beating it away. Fraser Hornby followed up, but having his effort cleared. Boyle, after making another good run, got behind the defence on 24 minutes, but from a tight angle, he forced Lewis into saving with a part of the anatomy that you don't want to be saving the ball with, especially not on a bitterly cold afternoon. Did he take it in the balls?
Aye, there was a wee hint of it afterwards.
Yeah,
when he got up, they had that look on his face that told you where it hit him.
Good. I never clocked that at the time. I'm gutted about that now. Right, where were we? The officials took centre stage again 2 minutes later with a decision from the referee to give the home side a penalty. Murphy poked the ball out of play, then simply ran into Ferguson. With Hibs players jogging back into their own half for the goal kick, referee Collum pointed to the spot. Boyle tucked the penalty into the corner with the diving Lewis inches from saving. On 37 minutes, McCrory was on the run, only for Gogic to step across and body check him to the ground. No free kick was given. 2 minutes later, Murphy threaded Boyle through in the box, looking offside again. No flag, but Lewis again stood up to make a brilliant save from point-blank range and kept the Dons in the game. A minute before the break, Tommy Hoban went down and needed treatment after taking a whack in the face from Deutsch. Fortunately, he was able to carry on. Lewis was down at the feet of Deutsch to mop up in the opening minute of the second half. A reasonably comfortable save after a heavy touch from the striker. There were claims for a Dons penalty in the 50th minute. Ferguson flicking the ball forward. Hornby trying to take the ball inside. It clearly hit Hanlon's right hand with the same level of intent as the penalty Hoban conceded at St Mirren back in December. No penalty kick this time. The right decision. Boyle was played in behind once again by a Stevenson pass in the 68th minute, and this time Lewis couldn't save his side. Boyle sliding the ball underneath him and in. The way things are going for the Dons was summed up in the 80th minute. Aberdeen denied by the woodwork for the third time in 3 games. Hornby got on the end of a Kennedy cross, his header clipping McGregor, looping over Marciano, but smacking against the bar and bouncing to safely. Nisbet then replaced Deutsch in Hibs' final change after 85 minutes. Hibs managing the last few minutes of the game professionally as they sealed the 3 points. There was a late flurry from the Dons, McGinn having a shot charged down, Hendry then taking a whack in the final seconds as he tried to get on the end of a corner, adding injury to insult. That's some reporting. I'm not quite sure that's how I saw the game going, John.
No. The match report for Aberdeen surprised me a wee bit because it reminded me a lot of Jim Trainor's efforts. It was a less worthy Jim Trainor effort for when he was in charge of that kind of thing when he was at Rangers. It suggested that there was a wee bit of sort of bitterness between the two sides that I don't think it had existed prior to that. I mean, Aberdeen have had the better of I don't know, say the last 10 encounters between the two sides. We've come away with maybe, 2-3 victories at Easter Road, not at Pittodrie. And I don't know whether it was just a culmination of Aberdeen are going through a really shite patch now. Hibs had beaten the team that they haven't really had the best of luck against. It didn't sit particularly well with me. And to be fair, like I don't tend to read match reports all often because you either watch the game live or whatever. So it was odd. It was a wee bit. I thought it was a wee bit childish, a wee bit petulant.
It felt that way. Eh? Like I couldn't. The idea that they were unlucky, it kind of astonished me because I thought they were second best all over the pitch. That was my opinion. And when you look at, I mean, certainly, I suppose not that you should hold on to these things, but Aberdeen games that we've played, particularly Easter Road, over the last few years, you take the cup game when they beat us on penalties. I mean, you talk about a team being lucky or unlucky in a game of football. And Hibs battered them that game. I'm sure we missed 2 sitters. I think we hit the woodwork and then went out on penalties, and Aberdeen fucking totally rode their luck. But there's been a number of occasions Aberdeen have taken a bit of a kicking from us at Easter Road and somehow went away with 3 points.
The games at Easter Road that I remember have typically been decided by like one individual error, especially when Hibs have been beat. So I'm thinking back to their first season back in the Premiership. I think it was a Lewis Stevenson error and Gary Mackay-Stephen, I think, capitalised on it and scored.
Yeah, Martin Boyle in the last game,
game.
Easter Road. Do you know when Martin Boyle conceded the penalty?
Yeah.
In the last one.
In other games, when we've got the victory, I thought we'd won pretty soundly. Our games up at Pittodrie have just been fucking torture for years. I don't know. Like, we were doing really well under our Heckenbottom when we started. I think we got Ryan Porteous goal, and then they managed to get a league equaliser after having a man sent off. Sorry, I went off on a wee bit of a tangent. I forget what it was they asked.
That's all right. We're actually about the match report if that's how you saw the game as well.
No. It was, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's like one of those sort of midwinter fixtures like the pitch. They mentioned the ropey surface, and maybe they were being literal with it rather than being snide about it.
Yeah.
Like, the pitch is a bit of a shocker, but we had a chat about it before the game where during the game, I don't know what the alternative is because, like, the weather's been shit. The weather's going to have an impact on the pitches. So I don't know what we could do. I don't know if Aberdeen or whoever it was that wrote the match report was suggesting that Aberdeen were fucked by Hibs' shitty pitch, but I'd imagine pitches are shit everywhere.
The other thing, I don't think the pitch. So I think the pitch looks bad, but if you look at takes Boyle's second goal, for example, Stevenson plays a good pass along the ground.
Slide rule.
Slide rule is exactly the phrase I was looking for there, John. Pinpoint with laser accuracy. Boyle doesn't even have to take a touch as he's running onto it. The only touch that Boyle takes of the ball is to pass it between Joe Lewis's legs to score. That doesn't have to do anything else. The pitch can't be that bad if you're able to play passes like that. And it wasn't the first time that Boyle or other players were played through in a good positions. So.
Weirdly, I think I've probably seen the Easter Road pitch look better and seen more players falling about. Sliding or just losing their foot and whatever. I don't remember anything like that sticking out on Saturday there. So I don't know. I don't know that the pitch contributed to the boys' injury. I don't know that it was it didn't look like he's taken a step or done anything in his stride where he's fallen one way or the other.
Yeah.
Weirdly, the opposite, I think, could be said of Gogic's injury and the injury to Jackson Irvine. Like, there seemed to be a lot of arm and shoulder injuries kicking about at the weekend.
Yeah, it was quite a physical game. I think Gogic's one, I thought he was fouled. I think if I remember the incident right, they didn't get anything for it. Jackson Irvine's one was just, he was trying to keep the ball. I don't think there was really much the Aberdeen player could do about that one.
That was just a tangle of bodies.
Just sort of landed. It looked more like a wrestling move the way that they ended up, didn't it?
Just really, really unfortunate.
but real. The Aberdeen match report writer then, do you think he was more or she was more or less annoyed than our friend Allan McGregor at the weekend?
Less.
Aye. Look, Brian's joined from 90-degree angles.
Things that make Allan McGregor angry. People joining podcasts late.
Aye. And standing on their side. Brian, you need to go in the landscape or something.
I'm on landscape.
Oh, turn and portrait them.
All right.
Ah, that's us.
There
We're
it
in.
is.
Hi, lads.
Hiya, how you doing?
All right. For an Allan McGregor kind of day. To be
Well,
honest.
that's funny you mentioned that. That's exactly who we're just talking. We've just missed us covering the Aberdeen match report from the weekend, and the question I asked John was the match report writer more or less angry than Allan McGregor?
I think the Aberdeen match reporter probably listened to our shock bangers for last week, where I gave my definition of life, and it just sent him over the edge.
There's no point in writing about the football. Aye.
Oh God!
We watched. I watched and we know that we're going to talk about Rangers for any length of time. But the Hamilton Rangers game, Hamilton were awfully unlucky not to take all 3 points against Rangers. But Allan McGregor was about as angry as I've ever seen him. Definitely after they conceded. And on Twitter, of course, we then go and say things that make Allan McGregor angry. So we might sporadically through the course of the podcast just chuck in some things. For instance, the one that I liked was he's got an unexpected item in the baggage area. That was a great shout. Kittens, another one.
How can kittens make you angry?
Well, Allan McGregor. People with short tempers. Anyway,
I'd imagine people enjoying themselves.
oh, aye, people having an overtly good time.
He's probably just, if he had his own tagline, it would probably be, "There's misery out there. I just need to find it."
We need to get that trending as well.
Do you think Allan McGregor's ever laughed to himself at just like a wee scenario that's playing into his head, or has he just got angrier? Like, does that just never happen for him?
Do you know what? He's
Probably
probably sat.
somebody getting like run over.
Aye. Or the film Psycho.
Aye.
Back and he'll allow himself a slight wee chuckle.
Are you saying that Allan McGregor probably views Saw as a comedy?
Aye. Or the daily coronavirus briefing when they get to the deaths. Here we go. Right. Fuck Allan McGregor. Keep sending them in because it's funny when folk, some of the ones that we've had so far. Hamilton not being staunch enough. Was one of them. I should have taken a note of who said this. Apologies if I've quoted you, not credited you for your tweet. I'll fix that at some point. Hibs, Aberdeen. John, right, why did we win the match and what was key for us?
Something's changed about Hibs in the last couple of weeks. I don't know whether it's a kick in the arse after the St Johnstone game, introduction of Cadden, pushing Boyle up front, transfer window, the speculation that we had surrounding Porteous and Nisbet and those two getting dropped. There's been a little bit, the introduction of Darren McGregor, there's been a little bit of a change, and touch wood, it's working out well for us at the moment.
Brian, did you see the game?
I watched most of it on Alba.
What did you think of the commentary this week?
It's all right. I thought he covered most of the. He conveyed the game pretty much how I saw it.
Aye. Have to disagree with what he says.
I was on my fourth whiskey at the time, so a lot of it made sense to me, to be fair. Aye, it was insightful.
And so we talk about. Well, let's start with Darren McGregor. What difference do you think he's made to the team? Because definitely we have improved results since McGregor's come into the team.
We have probably. You go with the benefit of with hindsight, and you think, I wonder if a different Hibs would have showed up against Ross County and Livingston and St Johnstone if McGregor was there. And not that I'm by any stretch of the imagination a tactical wizard, but I've said often enough on the podcasts under Jack Ross that I think a 3-5-2 would suit us down to the ground. It's maybe a variation of a 3-5-2, but it's certainly the three guys at the back, and we just seem stronger. I think it brings out having the three at the back brings out a better performance for Gogic. Gogic having Irvin beside him takes the load off him. It probably, Irvin having Gogic beside him allows Irvin to take the shackles off a wee bit more and go forward without really having to think twice about shit if I left a gap, because he knows Gogic is going to be there. We just seem a better team with three at the back. We do.
John,
and McGregor's a big part of that.
Yes, do you think, John, that it's a change that should have happened earlier?
With the benefit of hindsight, you would say definitely. I was curious, did we definitely play three at the back at the weekend there?
I don't know, I was half pissed.
For me, it's a three, and you've got Cadden and Dougie Tripod on either side, who I suppose dropped to a five if we're really having it to defend, but when we're in possession, it goes to three at the back, five in midfield.
So
I'm just going by the way that the guy on Alba described it. So
aye.
No, that's fair. Like I don't think I paid too much attention to it at the time, and try to think back, I can't remember, but it would make sense. I think in my head, I thought of it as being more of a four at the back, and whatever the formation was in front of them, and I thought that maybe the thing that was helping things out was just the added experience, or the cumulative experience of McGregor and Hanlon just sitting in the middle there, like they've played umpteen number of games before. Maybe it's just sort of second nature. They have to worry less about communication and just know where each other is. I think I'd said before, in fact, I compared Ryan Porteous to Darren McGregor in terms of the partnership with Hanlon, like Porteous and McGregor being more of the sort of ball winning types, and Hanlon sort of mopping up behind. I don't know if that's still the case, but certainly the defence has got a bit more, I don't know, stability, resilience about it again. Because that was the thing that we were known for at the start of the season, was however many games it was that we went without conceding. And then we sort of lost our way a wee bit, and it didn't get terrible, but especially over the winter period, there was a few games where God knows how many goals it was that we conceded.
Too many.
But we seem to have got back on track with that again. So we're we're making it really difficult for teams to score against us. While the flip side of it is we found a bit of creativity going forward, and we found something in Martin Boyle by pushing him further forward with the introduction of Cadden out on the right.
Aye. Cadden will come on to him in a wee second, because he definitely helps. For me, McGregor's first instinct is to defend, and I'm not sure that's always the case with Hanlon and Porteous. As daft as that sounds, like they're better at creating, bringing the ball out with defence, etc., than McGregor is. But you look at some of the examples, because Sportscene picked them out for discussion on Saturday night, and they ran examples of the things that McGregor had done, and it was bodying folk, or just using his strength and getting last-ditch tackles in, putting his body on the line, all that kind of thing that you really want to see for a defender. And he just did it, kind of set that example.
I don't think there's many finer sights in a football pitch and a Hibs jersey than when Darren McGregor someone, just cleans them out. Like, I didn't mean like the sliding challenge, just be a brick wall.
There's times where he sort of just moves people out the road. It's just like,
aye,
fuck off.
Just like, I'd love to see what his workout plan is, because he's a fucking unit.
I think he bench presses Lewis Stevenson.
Possibly. I don't know. I think Lewis Stevenson might be a wee bit too light for him.
Maybe
that's his warm-up set.
Aye, that's his warm-up.
Two Andy Gorhams.
So, maybe the cable Mixu's doing these days. Maybe Mixu's making himself useful.
He's tied up in Darren McGregor's gym.
Mixu with like a dumbbell bar with Mixu on one side, Grant Holt on the other.
Has anyone seen Mixu recently?
Nah. I did bump into him once in Tesco. I actually saw him twice in Tesco's. The first time I saw him, he looked properly pissed off. Do you know that you'll have been shopping when you're with somebody and they're much more into the shopping than you are? And you can clock when that happens and you see the expression of the person who's not really wanting to be there and they just have a face like thunder.
Aye.
That was Mixu the first time I saw him in Tesco and I thought, I'm not fucking interrupting him. Like, I just let him be. But then the second time I saw him, he was just leaning on his trolley. He looked quite happy, so I went and spoke to him.
I think the first time he'd just been off the phone to Allan McGregor. Why are you shopping?
Moaning that the oranges weren't orange enough. I just saw before we came on to start recording this, there was Rangers are the most offended team in the country.
Yes,
well,
absolutely.
The Sun or the Daily Record had a headline that was "Hunger for Success," so Hun-Ger. So obviously the play on words that they're using is "ger," as in the Gers. So Hun-Ger for success. But Rangers, being Rangers, are annoyed because the first part is Hun, and they're calling it sectarian. They put a complaint into the Sun and are wanting a response for it. I can honestly get offended at anything. Right, Chris Cadden on the right hand side and Martin Boyle up front. John, what are your thoughts on that setup?
Well, I was going to ask a question for a slightly different perspective. So, a lot of people have said that Boyle isn't effective up front. He's not effective as a striker. What do you think? What does Cadden bring to Martin Boyle's former position, if you like, as a winger that previous players haven't, that allows Boyle to do what he does in the last few games up front?
For me, there's a couple of things. The Cadden is really steady defensively and offensively. Really steady. I think Jack Ross just described him as like I want to say like a basic player, a simple player. And it wasn't mean as an insult, just like he gets the ball and when he's attacking, he takes it down the line, and he puts a cross in, and he defends when he needs to defend. I think he's really, really disciplined at keeping the shape as well. So you look at where Cadden, right, we're not a podcast that talks about fucking heat maps and things like that, but I would imagine if you looked at Cadden's heat map, it would be up and down the touchlines where he would predominantly be.
Mm-hmm.
Boyle, if you look at his heat map, when he's playing that side, he will sometimes be central, he will sometimes be across the other side of the pitch. He's a little bit more fluid, and I think he's less disciplined at defending than Cadden is. Boyle playing up front. So what I think worked with Boyle playing up front, because I said it when we had the cup semi-final, my gripe was you had Cadden playing right, and in order to get him playing, you had to put Boyle up front, but he wasn't effective. Mm-hmm. But I think if I was to review that criticism, it was the way that we played Boyle in that game, rather than Boyle himself. The way we played Boyle on Saturday, off the shoulder of the defence, Aberdeen just couldn't cope with him. He's got the pace, he was timing his runs, and how many times did he get in behind them? And it's because we found him in those pockets of space. So Irvin was finding him with passes, Murphy was finding him with passes, Lewis found him with a pass. That you can't argue with Boyle in that situation. If you've got a defence who are not going to be switched on to him running behind them, he will cause absolute havoc, and he did on Saturday. So I think maybe it's unfair to say Boyle's not effective as a forward, but he's ineffective unless you play that kind of game, if that makes sense.
That's a fair summary.
Brian?
Will we just wrap up now? I don't know if we're going to get any better than
that. We're not going to get much better than that. I said Boyle was hopeless as a striker. No idea why we played him there. And the last few times I've watched Hibs, I've been pissed. So I don't even know why you invite me on here, to be honest.
Well, it's the eye candy, isn't it? That's the main thing, especially when we started, now we started putting the video out there. No offence, John.
My favourite.
I was going to say it was Brian's joie de vivre.
I should point out with this now that we're filming them as well, because my mate messaged me and asked me if I was getting a David Brent goatee. And I don't have hair here as well, but it's like I've mentioned before how shy I haven't grown a beard. You can't see it. It's like actual stubble-ish all the way around. But the bit where it comes across on camera makes me look like I've got a David Brent style goatee. And I don't. So
No.
I felt I needed to clear that up. Anyway, we're all better for that. Now, I had a really good point to make just before we went on to that, and it's gone. Kevin Nisbet, John, what is Doidge now starting in the last two games, Hibs winning the last two games, and Boyle playing up front mean for Kevin Nisbet?
Does he stop being a £3 million striker if he's not playing? Like, it's a wee bit of an interesting conundrum, because I think you can probably apply the same thing to Ryan Porteous.
You can, yep.
And I wondered to myself whether or not Porteous had been dropped in favour of Hanlon because Hanlon was the more experienced. Porteous maybe needed a wee bit of time out of the squad, kind of watch McGregor. Nisbet, I don't think is effective in the same role as Doidge played on Saturday. So I don't know where that leaves him. It's a bit bizarre, because he's Hibs' top scorer this season. We've talked about him getting into the Scotland squad for the Euros. He was recently allegedly subject to the bid for Birmingham. I just don't know. Don't get me wrong. Like it's funny as well, because see, when you looked at the bench on Saturday, there we suddenly went from a team just a few short weeks ago looking, down to its bare bones. Then you're looking at the bench and some of the names that were on at the weekend. You're thinking, actually, there's a bit of depth, there's a bit of strength there. To have Nisbet come, to have the possibility of Nisbet coming off the bench. You've got McGuinness to come off the bench. You've got Porteous to come off the bench. There's Scott Allan sitting there. You've got Joe Newell still to come back for injury. It doesn't seem like such a bad place.
No, but and I suppose I highlighted Kevin Nisbet there. You've got the same question, like say Porteous, Joe Newell. How does he come back into the team? Because who are you dropping to fit Joe Newell back in? Brian, if you were picking in, we've all talked about Joe Newell's value to the team. If you were to look at the way we've been playing and the personnel we've been using, who makes way for Joe Newell?
I don't know.
It's a hard one,
I don't know, but that's the beauty of it. Nisbet, I can't blame Nisbet for. We sometimes view footballers as different to other professions, and to a large extent it is. But regardless of where you work or what you do, if somebody's potentially offering you 4 times your salary, you're going to want to take it.
Yeah.
That's just the cold hard facts. They get paid more, but we've said it before. That's because they've got, they might get paid more, but it's all relative.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him for looking after number one, but then I don't blame Hibs for looking after number one either. So if he needs to sit on the bench because we've got a winning team and because the formation and personnel we've stumbled across, that style doesn't lend itself to Kevin Nisbet performing as well as he would if he was partnered with Doidge.
Yeah.
Doidge plays that role better than Nisbet would, and Boyle scored 4 and 3. So you need to sit on the bench. Porteous, you could have dropped either of Porteous or Hanlon because they were both making mistakes. But if Darren McGregor's the one you're bringing in, I don't think you want to be playing McGregor and Porteous side by side. Hanlon's a better ball player, I think, a bit more cultured. And even just the whole left foot, right foot.
Yeah.
Pairing. So they've both been badly advised, I think. Certainly Nisbet has. And by circumstance, we've won the last 3 games. The players that have came in or are playing in their positions are undroppable. So they just need to sit and bide their time, quite simply. Nobody's bigger than Hibs. We say it before, when I was talking this, but going away, it was, oh, fuck, it's our top scorer and it's this and it's that. Replacing this with any other big name player that we've lost over the last few years. And Hibs just seemed to move on. The only one I think that's really hit us has probably been McGinn, but he is pretty much irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Everybody else that's left, within a few short months, I never really thought about.
Aye, didn't miss them too much. McGinn being the obvious exception, yeah. John, if you're looking ahead to the season, how encouraged are you by the fact that we're winning games, 5 points clear in third place, and when you look to players who are still available, so we would kind of looked at this on Saturday. You've got not starting Kevin Nisbet, Ryan Porteous, Joe Newell, Scott Allan, Lewis Stevenson. I'm sure who else you could chuck in there. But either any of those people would be considered worthy of a starting position, and a few of them they're key players. So if we're in the position that we're in just now, having not been playing those guys, how do you see that kind of shaping our chances for finishing third?
You can't ask John how positive he is when you're giving him positive news. You can't. We could be 10 points behind everybody else at the bottom of the league with a double header against ISIS, and John would still be optimistic about us coming away with at least 4 points. He's probably got a semi right now, and he's not even said a word in answer to this question. Go on, John.
See how before you answer, John, see how you mentioned ISIS there, Brian. Right? So there's just one of the wee quirky things you notice on the news. So we turned on the TV earlier on, and it was on BBC News just at the end of the coronavirus briefing that they were doing. And you know the wee newsreel thing at the bottom that tells you kind of the headlines. It says Britain's terrorist alert has been downgraded from like imminent to possible, or I can't remember the exact phrases. I thought, didn't fucking tell them that. Just make them think that we're on red alert all the time, so they think that they better not do it. It's like you said, right, our guard's down now, guys. If you want to come and hit us, now's a good time to do it.
A coronavirus briefing and a segment on ISIS is Allan McGregor's version of a rom-com.
McGregor sitting raging at it. Don't fucking tell them. John, third place.
Brian's not wrong. Brian's not wrong at all. It probably helps if I explain myself, because I'd said to you guys recently that I'd said to someone at Hibs that deep down I'm still just a 5-year-old laddie that's completely in awe of his heroes. And I believe that with the right group of players, with the right set of circumstances, the Hibs could win the league. I still firmly believe that, despite 38 years of evidence to the contrary. So, in the search for third, so we had that wee sticky spell over Christmas, where we had, 3 defeats on the spin, and we conceded, felt like 14 goals or something. It probably was a lot less.
I think it was, yeah.
And we've managed to sort of ride out that storm, and we've got a couple of new players into different positions and whatnot. And Brian's laughing and trying to put me off, but let me finish.
No, I'm laughing at Matthew saying 700 and something.
So we've got, what is it? We got sort of 9 points at the last 9 or something. Like, we're in a really good place again. And the fixtures that we've got ahead of us are Ross County, Hamilton, Motherwell, St Johnstone, and Livingston. And I honestly think that we could probably take anywhere between 10 and 15 points. I don't think 15 points is totally unrealistic. And if you take those 15 points, I think that takes us, if we manage to take those 15 points, that puts us up to something like 64, which is 3 short of a record points total. And even if it's 10, we're on 59 points. There's just so much ahead of us. There's so much that we can achieve with this team, and I think that it's probably a reason why you should ride out the storm a little bit. Like, I was having a look as well about, because we had a conversation a few podcasts back about sticky winter periods for Hibs, and how I think the generally accepted history at Hibs is that we always have shitty periods over winter.
Yep.
So I've not actually got the figures in front of me right now because it's on a spreadsheet on another computer. But
A what?
a
You've got this on a
spreadsheet.
spreadsheet.
I've got this on a spreadsheet. I went back 20 years with Hibs and I mapped out from the start of December to the end of January the number of wins, draws and losses that they had. And Hibs' winter period under Jack Ross was comparable to Neil Lennon. And our 4th place finish with record points.
Is this the kind of research I'm supposed to turn up with each week?
None of us are meant to be doing that. What other things do you have spreadsheets for, John? Give us an example of another spreadsheet that you have. In fact, have you got another Hibs spreadsheet?
I probably do. I can't think off the top of my head, but I definitely do.
Squad numbers.
Squad
No, I
numbers,
don't.
Goal scored
But
in
no,
the 85th minute.
I think so. Talking about trying to get third, like we're obviously talking about Hibs achieving third come the end of the season. I'm just talking about the next 5 games, because obviously the next 5 games takes us up to the split and the top. We've got to play another 5 games after that. Our running isn't terrible, and if we take those points that I'm talking about, 10 to 15, that leaves us with another fantastic opportunity to go on to another record points total.
Yeah. I think our hardest, sort of famous last words, but I think our hardest games pre-split are behind us now. The running is very good.
Potentially, don't get me wrong, like, I'm looking at Ross County, who obviously scudded us, 2-3-0? Livingston were the same.
Yep.
The other 3, I don't have too many difficulties in thinking that we would take 3 points out of them.
Right, well, we'll talk about Ross County in a wee minute. Well, just before we go into the kind of the points that folks sent us in on Twitter from the game, one of the talking points was a penalty. Did either of you think that it should or shouldn't have been a penalty?
For Aberdeen?
No, for Hibs. There was a penalty that we got. Remember, this is how unusual it is. We get one and we think, fucking hell, we've had 2 in 2 games. I tell you what else, we got a penalty on Saturday and Deutsch got a foul awarded to him.
No.
I got a nosebleed. Like, it happened and it was like that. But you go, oh, but I was nosebleeding, and I reckon it was just the shock that happening.
Do you think it was
a moment?
I have a friend once who had when you're at school and you have exchange, you like a student exchange, and you go to live in another country for a week, and somebody comes over to stay with you. Well, he went to this girl's, I can't remember if she was like Swedish or Norwegian or something like this, and she was so excited about it, she had a nosebleed. So that was fucking brilliant. How does that happen? How does your body, what kind of defence mechanism is that from your body? You get the fight or flight thing, but imagine getting that excited, your nose goes, fuck it, I'm going to bleed.
Nosebleeds make Allan McGregor angry.
He gets an age of folk getting excited and having nosebleeds.
Women's menstrual cycles. Oh.
Getting butterflies in his stomach when he's excited. I hate butterflies.
I'd imagine he would get
Allan, they're not real.
I'd imagine he would get angry if he got excited. It just, oh no, happiness, no, leave my body.
I forgot what I was going to ask. Right, penalty that we got. So Murphy got fouled. The Aberdeen match reporter thought it was never a penalty. Derek McInnes, in his midlife crisis, thought it was never a penalty.
Well, he's never going to say it was a penalty, was he?
Nah. I thought it was a free kick. Anybody else on the pitch, I reckon why it wouldn't be a penalty if you did the same foul.
He's just a fat Kevin Thompson, Derek McInnes, isn't he? When you think about it.
Without the skinny jeans.
Aye.
Aye. Penalty, anyway.
I was going to ask.
Fuck, we got a penalty.
No, I'm curious about it because Murphy was taken out. I think he basically he had his foot stood on.
I think it was because Murphy had kicked the ball that far.
Yeah.
That they said that's not a penalty, but it doesn't take away the fact that Murphy got halved.
Aye, it was a foul in the box, so.
Aye, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
Aye. Is it just a weird one because he wasn't, cleaned out? It was he got his foot stood on.
I think it was because, like Brian said, because how he played the ball and when it happened. So he's played the ball away, and then Ferguson's come into him, And I think McKinney's point of view was Ferguson was trying not to tackle him, which
Well, he didn't make a very good job
of it. He put his foot down onto Murphy's foot. So, I thought it was
that doesn't stand out. I try not to offend people, but
when
shit happens. Eh? Right, well,
you can't to go easier. I mean, never meant it. I didn't. Me a fat cow.
Does it stop it being a penalty? Right, we'll go to points for the listeners. And so Stephen Bell said, I thought Aberdeen were even shiter than I expected they'd be. He somehow made them weaker going forward, selling one striker and bringing in three. Were Aberdeen worse than you expected them to be in that game? John?
Aye, they had nothing. Like, Cosgrove has caused us difficulties in the past. Niall McGinn has caused us a few difficulties in the past. I don't know whether these guys, if it's just because of the way that Aberdeen have been playing recently, but it seemed like they all quickly ran out of ideas. And I think I mentioned it when we talked about when we did the quick bag on Saturday. But they had that injury early doors, and then the boy that was subbed on to replace the injured player was later subbed off himself. So that's like a sort of double whammy for them. Like, it's just left them with no, one option, I think, to sort of change things again. And then they've had that header that's come off of, I don't know, was it Hanlon's shoulder?
Yeah.
And then it's looped up and it's hit the crossbar. Like, they couldn't have bought a win on Saturday. They're kind of looking toiling, to be honest.
Brian, did you think it was a case of Aberdeen being shite or Hibs being good, or a combination?
Probably a combination. I think if Aberdeen had scored first, we'd probably be sat here lamenting a 1-0 defeat, because they would have just put up the barricades, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But they don't seem to be in a good place right now, which makes everybody happy, apart from Allan McGregor.
Except for Allan McGregor. Lisa Conway said, Darren McGregor has changed the way we play for the better. He bossed it today. I bloody love that guy. I'll admit I spent the second half dreading them scoring, so it was great to keep a clean sheet. I don't know if the clean sheet was related to her dreading stuff or if she's talking about the football. But great either way.
No woman can talk about Darren McGregor and keep a clean sheet.
That's actual factual.
Even I can't keep a clean sheet when I think about Darren McGregor.
I think we covered that, so we'll move on for that. But hard to disagree with that. He was outstanding. Although TG Willis said Gogic was his player of the match. Any disagreements there? Or would you for support with the sponsors man of the match? Gogic definitely had a claim on it, didn't he?
I love Gogic. He's the type of player that Hibs need. Yeah, he's the type of player that when Hibs have them, we say they're too limited.
Yeah.
We probably say the same about Matthias Jack when Matthias Jack was at Hibs. Yet after he left, we done the usual when we get all nostalgic and then we create a Matty Jack role. Marvin Bartley's the same at Hibs. We loved him as a person, proper character, but he was another one, too limited. Can only pass it to the player beside him. He leaves. And then we watch Livingston games and suddenly it's, we should never have let him go and blah, blah, blah. Gogic just falls into the same category. He will be 10 times the player he is now after he leaves Hibs.
Yeah. John, do you think Gogic's voice is a little bit softer than his appearance?
I'm too scared to say yes because he looks like he'll batter me.
The thing is, if he looked like he would batter you, you would be scared. But see, if he told you he was going to batter you, you'd be like...
Do you know what? I'm not sure I've heard him speak. I just assumed he was the strong, silent type.
No, he has a very gentle, soft-spoken voice.
I'd love to hear it.
He could sound like Sean Dyche, and he'd probably still sound softer than what he is.
Did you hear the speaking of Sean Dyche? The two incidents with him this week. One was his press conference, where the voice, one of the reporters asked him, "Has anybody ever told you look like Mick Hucknall?" Friend of the show, Mick Hucknall. And instead of like fucking getting humpty about it, he was like, "Nah, I've never had that one, but I have had Chris Evans because he's got ginger hair and I've got ginger hair. Except his hair isn't ginger anymore." But then he went off in this big spiel, and then one of the other reporters got the hump about the question and went, "Oh, is this what the press conferences have become now? Have we lowered ourselves to lookalikes?" And he went, "Lowered ourselves? We've risen to it. Lookalikes are brilliant." And then he just fucking went off on this big rant about why folks should be asking him about lookalikes instead of is he going to play a 4-4-2. So that was decent. But then another thing with Deitch was him and John McGinn. With the story, which was superb. And if I remember right, it came out because McGinn had fouled one of his players, and he was remonstrating from the sideline at John McGinn, and McGinn told him to shut up. And Deitch said, "Oh, are you thinking a big man? You've been in the Premier League for a season, and you can shout abuse at me." And McGinn said, "Well, you've been in the Premier League for 6 seasons, and you've still got the same shit coat." Quality.
And finished off by saying, "You're a big prick."
Yeah. There is no way back from that, is there? Like, there's nothing you can say at the end of that other than, "Wonder if I should buy a new coat." Which is what I was thinking. And you can bet Sean Deitch spent at least 20 minutes thinking about what he should have said
He's
on the back of it.
He's went home and he's went straight onto the ASOS app looking at new jackets, hasn't he?
He'll have come in. You ever see the episode of Office where David Brent comes in with the leather jacket and the earring and that?
No, seen it.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
So his boss has got like a tan leather jacket. And he sees him, obviously tries to be younger than he is. So he comes in the next day, he's got the earring, these pointy shoes and this light leather jacket. But his boss is there at the same time. They look the same. And I said, "Oh, nice jacket. What kind is yours?" And his boss goes, "Oh, it's Armani." "What about yours?" He says, "Sergio Tercini." like, all right. Anyway, yeah, you imagine Deitch turning up the next day with a tan leather jacket and an earring.
Fake tan on.
You would I'm not going to go there. I was going to mention something about a Duracell battery, but I'm not sure if you're then going into Roy Chubby Brown levels of humour, and I really don't want to go there.
No.
Right, Ron Burgundy, he said 4:30 a.m. here, bouncing around the house, 352, opened up the channels where most of our play came from. Delighted, Deutsch worked like a dog, caused real problems, great effort from Big Daz and Hanlon. Scott Allan must have jizzed on their cornflakes this morning. Hashtag passes. Do you think that would give you Scott Allan superpowers? Is it the same as getting bitten by a radioactive spider if you have jizzed on cornflakes and have them for your breakfast?
If that's Scott Allan's superpower, then we need to be pumping him full of pineapple juice and God knows what else to get him on.
He would be passing that superpower on to other people, would I suppose is the theory there.
Aye. So get him in charge of breakfast at Eastlands.
And he's taking the Frosties. Right, Andy said, number 1, Irvin needs a new contract, and 2, Jack Ross has done a good job with Boyle's position. So take point 1. Can we get Jackson Irvin on a longer contract?
No.
What makes you say that?
He's too good for Hibs. I said it before he signed. He's too good for Hibs. And he is too good for Hibs, let's be honest. If there aren't bigger clubs circling around him at the moment, then I'd be surprised. But there's probably been bigger clubs looking at Marciano in the past couple of years. But if you find the right club and you're settled and you're happy, and Jackson Irvin has probably made quite an income for himself in the last few years down south, then maybe. But on ability, I think he is going to go back onto bigger things.
I'm sure I read that he's, I'm not sure if he's married, but his wife, his girlfriend, is in Scotland. So maybe we may be a good fit for him. John, Jack Ross done a good job with Boyle's position.
I don't know so much about his position, but that probably comes back to what you were saying before about the way that he had him playing up front, sort of jinking in and out of the Aberdeen backline. Playing off the shoulder of players rather than whatever it was that we were doing when we played St Johnstone. Having Cadden out on the right and playing Boyle up front the way that we did, complemented one another, in addition to other adjustments that were made in the team.
Well, we talked about Martin Boyle that came out in the paper today that his dad had suffered a stroke, and obviously Martin had been out of the team for a wee bit. I think he missed the Rangers game, and he referenced that. So get well soon, Martin Boyle Senior, and hopefully everyone's all right there. Semitron said, "Is the Easter Road Fox our lucky charm?" Did you see the footage of the Fox when it ran up to the cones?
Had a pish on the cones.
I'm not sure it did it. It looked like it was going. It kind of squatted for a second and then thought, I don't know if I realised, I'm on CCTV here.
To be fair, I've gotten pee shy at Easter Road before as well, so I sympathise.
But it definitely looked like it was ready to curl on it. And then maybe, I tell you what, maybe it was thinking of Hamilton and realised the trouble that the Hamilton co-commentator got into and just thought, that's not worth it. I've got my Fox wife and kids to support here. I can't be losing the run at Easter Road. So I'm not going to do my business now, and I'm certainly not going to talk about it later.
How is it that Hibs managed to release the statement that they did to apologise for what Irvin Welsh had said, but Hamilton have sacked the boy because they said that he squeezed out a jobby at half-time? Surely they could just have made a similar apology and the boy would still be in a job.
They could have, but...
Like, Hamilton have gotten really upset about a boy squeezing out a jobby. Like, I'd say disproportionately upset.
The best thing about
it... if that's the call that they're applying in football, then there's no chance of me getting David Tanner's job.
I think we should lobby for that, though, Brian.
It would be fun.
Aye, it would definitely make the show very interesting. No offence to David Tanner. Folk got annoyed that Hibs apologised again in pre-match. I thought it was an unnecessary step. We'd already apologised to Rangers, and then they feel that we needed to do it again.
Aye. If clubs were forced to apologise every time Rangers got offended, then there'd be a lot of apologies.
Aye.
Imagine if we had to apologise every time Allan McGregor got angry.
It'd be like the Super Bowl, where instead of inserting commercials every couple of minutes, it would just be pre-recorded apologies to Allan McGregor. And a word from our partners here. Dear Allan, we're sorry that it was wet on Tuesday.
I'm sorry that I went out today and it looked as if I was enjoying myself.
Dear Allan, we're sorry that Nissans exist.
Dear Allan, we're sorry that she said no. Can I say that?
Well, you did. It's fine. It's in. Anyway, you'll only get annoyed about it. Dear Allan, we're sorry that we mentioned hunger and you got offended at it. Right, Christopher Black said, everything about our performance today was first class. Cadden and Irvin have offered a lot since coming in, and such a big difference having a fit Murphy. John, I'm not sure what relevance your dog's got to that point, but...
Aye, Murphy's come out of the game a wee bit in the last couple of games. It could be that he's managed to stay on the pitch for the majority of the time.
Taking a few sore ones as well and kind of rode them.
Aye. I mean, he really shouldn't be riding the opposition the way that he does, but we'll let him off it. No, I really, really enjoyed the way that he jinked past the Aberdeen player. I think I'd mentioned it before, where he sort of plays with the ball almost on the end of his toe, and he invites the challenge, then sort of skips over it. Irvin in the middle, I think, going back to something that Brian said before about Gogic, and something that you had said about McGregor and just being simple. So Irvin having license to go forward, Gogic doesn't have to do a hell of a lot else other than just break things up and play that 2-yard pass or that 5-yard pass or whatever.
Jackson's the box-to-box midfielder that we've been missing. Like in a literal sense, he will be from one box to the other.
Aye, someone mentioned it on Saturday, I forget who it was, but he really does have that inclination to get the ball forward, like to find that sort of probing pass, like the one that really puts the opposition defence under pressure. And I don't think Joe Newell does that, but he's definitely a different type of player. We probably want that from Joe Newell when he's playing alongside Gogic. We've just not quite had it. So Irvin's been a wee bit of the missing link recently.
Yeah. Mike Smart said one fundamental difference the last couple of weeks, it's called Darren McGregor. We've talked about Alan Neil Duncan said, Hibs need to really kick on from here. The next 3 games should bring in 9 points and really set us up for third place in European football next season. One of the things there, I think if you finish third, you're guaranteed European football after Christmas. So if you don't qualify for the Europa League, you go into the Europa Conference, into the group stages. So
that's got to be like the incentive, the carrot, the stick kind of thing for everyone at Easter Road. Like that's what waits you. That's what's at stake for beating Ross County, beating Hamilton, beating Motherwell, so on and so forth. Like you can really go and, Nisbet was getting offers from Birmingham before. Like if he comes back into that team, he could have his pick of whoever else. Same with Martin Boyle, same with Christian Deutsch, potentially.
Yeah,
they're all looking to make more money, not necessarily further careers, but they maybe see an opportunity beyond Hibs that wasn't there before if they get Hibs into Europe.
Yeah, it's a good short window, isn't it? If you get European football.
Aye.
Mike said, whole team looks fresh and playing some great football. Jack Ross got it spot on tactically. Bench looked really strong too. Can we adopt the goat as a lucky mascot? So Sebastian and the Fox are going to have a square go, I think, to find out who gets to represent Hibs as a lucky mascot. Sunshine's probably going to have to get involved as well.
Try and make it get Sunshine on the podcast.
I don't want to. For a start, how's the sound going to be? Because he's going to fucking mouth. It's like a muffled thing. And if he's as clumsy as he is when he's in goals, he's just asking for trouble. You'd be as well asking Mr. Blobby on.
Can we get Mr. Blobby on?
I'll pull some strings and see what I can arrange. Mr. Blobby and Sunshine at the same time. Right. Anyway.
Who do you think would win in a fight between the two?
Sunshine. Without a doubt. He's Philith. He's got the power of the YLT on his side. Plus, Mr. Blobby got a fucking nippy voice and a sense of clumsiness that would send Darren McGregor into an apocalyptic rage.
And Noel Edmonds wearing a shit jumper.
Aye. Is Noel Edmonds, I'm sure there is something that he's no longer in the country because he was due somebody loads of money and then just fucked off. I don't know if that's true or libelous or whatever, but I'm sure I read that.
I think he was involved in a court action against Lloyd's because of some...
he definitely was that.
But I wasn't aware that he owed anyone any money.
I'd
imagine most TV presenters back in that decade are probably in some shape or form hiding.
Yeah. Well, no, if you're listening, I can't imagine why you wouldn't be. But I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm just saying I heard or think I heard that's what happened. So.
Well, we put that out to the listeners. Where is Noel Edmonds?
Where is Noel Edmonds? Did you ever watch Noel's House Party when it was on?
Oh, yeah, I loved that.
Oh, I loved it.
Right. Do you know when he went to the, you're on TV and he did this?
Aye.
How much did you hope that they caught somebody doing something that they shouldn't have been doing? Like every week, you were like, please be in a compromise, tearing the heat off it or something like that and completely unaware that they're on national TV. Every time it happened, every time they went to it, I was like, please be doing something you shouldn't have been doing.
Aye.
So when, thinking back to it now, when was Noel Edmonds' House Party on air? Was it back mid-90s?
Early 90s, I think.
Early 90s.
90s.
How did they manage to hide a camera in someone's house?
They just only went to stupid people.
I manage it.
And in one of the smallest rooms as well.
Generally people's en suites, but I always find a way.
I don't know. They must have just had a kind of like spy, the spy films would be like in a plant pot or something like this.
I didn't think technology was that it probably was one of the producers for the show just wrote the camcorder.
That's what I'm getting
at. Mine TVs were much bigger back then. So maybe just stood behind one of the tellies and got away with it. It's an interesting thought. I'm sure one of the Naked Gun films, they've got the hide cameras. They do surveillance and they're all like fucking really obviously labelled and things like that. Maybe it was like that. But they never have. Obviously, they would have had a feed. They would know. They maybe had a few houses that they could go to, and there would definitely have been somebody, I think, who wasn't doing what they should have been doing, and they've just gone, can't use that one, let's take Dave and Skegness instead. we'll go to him. Right, who did we got to that? Noel's house party, right, Mr. Blobby. Michael Donachie said, hopefully Irvin and Gogic are fit. Both got knocks today with Irvin looking more serious. I think Jack Ross said that they were impact injuries and they should be okay. Right, Christopher Barry. So I'll bring this one up because I had a bit of conversation with him about it. We talked about on Twitter, Jack Ross has won a so-called big game. And Christopher Barry's point was it's not a so-called big game. It's the biggest game we can play currently. Some fans want us to lose. Why is Darren McGregor not captain? Why do Hibs fans hate Hibs? So maybe it wasn't Chris actually was having the argument with, because I did argue with somebody about whether it could be classed as a big game, because they were saying it doesn't really count because we couldn't win it. It didn't have to be won in 90 minutes. Which seems to be picking and choosing the definitions of a big game. But I think actually Christopher's who said that. His point was it was a big game and we won it. And why do Hibs fans hate Hibs? There are definitely some Hibs fans out there who seem to slaughter the club left, right and centre.
Yeah.
Like every opportunity to get fucking stuck in. I didn't get it. And I didn't understand that mentality. I think just, I'm a sort of person, I'll defend Hibs more often than not. And then I feel they need to get fucking wired into them.
I'll say we're shit when we're shit, and when we're good, we're good.
Yeah. Allan McGregor gets stuck in a lot for that though. He doesn't like Hibs.
No. I don't even think Allan McGregor likes himself.
No. Doesn't like his reflection.
No.
Makes him angry.
Maybe it's the mirrors that make him angry.
Mirrors, shadows. Especially when the shadow gets bigger than him. That's fucking really annoying. William said, I had Boiler on £5 goal pocket money last season. Saying my money was safe as he never scores enough. I later changed it to fancy cakes that I would cycle to him, and it seems we found his motivation. I have an account now at Mimi's Bakehouse, and you can all thank me later. Yep, cheers, William. STG said, I think today was a necessary win to help convince doubters of Ross, of which I've been one. He needed a win in such a fixture. He got his set up totally spot on, and we were very good. He takes all the credit today, and I'm delighted. Was that definitely one for Jack Ross to kind of go, see, I tell you I can win?
Yeah. Yeah.
Aye. Again, it comes back to what I think I was saying before about what happens next. Like, we need to win that game to give ourselves that opportunity.
Right,
is that still a feature on Question of Sport? Is Sue Barker still presenting it?
I've seen it for years. I've no idea if it's still on it. That was the best bit is Question of Sport, wasn't it? So if that's the bit that they've taken out, then they're idiots because they should have built the show around that.
Aye, just half an hour of what happens next.
Aye, that would be decent. The rest of it's pish. Steve McKenzie said, enjoyed the game more than a half for a long time. Well played, Hibs. Mixu99 said, Irvin now match fit as the box-to-box midfielder we have been desperate for since John McGinn. Now priority number one is to extend his contract beyond the summer. Hope his injury isn't bad. Steve McMahon said, should Aberdeen's match report win the Booker Prize for Fiction of the Year? I'll nominate it. Yeah, Steve McDonald.
Yep. Maybe fan fiction.
Fan fiction.
It's absolute torture. Aye, it's like one of those...
Stephen McDonald said, a blessing in disguise, Joe Newell getting injured. So definitely, it's one of these funny things, isn't it? It's like you have adversity that leads to positivity. Joe Newell getting injured, you think this is a bad thing for us, considering how key he's been, but in him being injured, it forced us to change the team.
Did Newell's injury sort of dovetail with Jackson Irvin coming into the team? Was it like Newell got injured one week, Irvin was in pretty much the next?
Yeah, I don't think they've played together yet, so that would probably be about right.
Be interesting. I'd like to think that Jack Ross wouldn't play the two of them together because I don't think that they complement each other. I think Gogic probably complements Newell and Gogic complements Irvine, but not those two together, not Irvine and Newell. That's no disrespect either.
Yeah.
I just think you get that bit of physicality for Gogic that you don't get from Newell. Not that he's, soft or whatever.
Yep. 150k on Hanlon Hill said, "Are we good again?" I would say so.
It's never that polar, is it? Like you can't be world beaters one week and then utter shite the next. There's too many variables involved.
Wilbur said only got the last 2 penalties because a Rangers player went down in the box.
I thought that was really funny.
Theory,
Check the referee to leave his senses, forgot where he was. Oh, it's Jimmy Murphy. It must be a Rangers penalty.
Aye. Right, just before we're kind of running out of time, so just before we move on, one of the other things that saw just at the back of full time on Saturday was, I think it was the BBC, but it might have been the Daily Records Twitter feed that said the poser Mickey Mellon put to Lawrence Shankland at halftime. And we asked folk for suggestions of what that question might have been. So, for example, what gets wetter as it dries? Ian N said, "Have you ever considered that Jessica Fletcher might be the actual murderer?" And Andrew might be, "Do fish get thirsty, Lawrence?" I like the idea of that. Just the managers motivating their team at half time by giving them fucking riddles. My first is in giraffe, but not in Allan McGregor. Is he angry as fuck? Yes.
What did the newspaper or the BBC say was the question? Like,
I never fucking read it. Like, I don't want to ruin the illusion. I'm quite happy thinking that he's giving them riddles or
what's the sound of one hand clapping?
Just real
There is Noel Edmonds.
really deep philosophical questions and things like that. You know, if God can do everything, can he make a stone so big he can't lift it? Like things like that. It's just
what makes Allan McGregor angry, Lawrence?
So Shankland's just got out and he's like, I don't care what to think anymore. I'm just going to score. Bang! I'm in my safe place. I never read the article. I just left it there. Right, Ross County on Saturday. We'll wrap up with some predictions. John, they gave us a bit of a turning over last time we played them. What's going to happen on Saturday?
It's up in Dingwall, aye. I'm going to say it's a wee bit of revenge mission, isn't it? A slightly different team for the one. Well, assuming Irvine's in the squad, it's going to be a slightly different team than the one that beat us. That we're beating at Easter Road.
Did Irvine not playing that game? Was that his first game? Remember, I think we talked about it, but he looked like he was David James outfield.
Oh.
That might have been against Levy, right enough.
Put me on the spot now. I'm not sure. I'm not. What's real anymore?
Lawrence.
I'm going to go for 1-0 Hibs revenge mission. Get in, get out, get home.
Ollie Shaw on goal.
I wouldn't wish that upon him, but but fuck it. If it means Hibs get the 3 points, I'll take it.
Brian.
2-0 Hibs.
I think we'll get a positive result. I think Ross County have had their new manager bounce.
That's uncharacteristically optimistic, are you, Brian?
I know. I'm just feeling inspired by the BBC Alba commentator.
He really hits you right in the heart, eh?
He does. He just made me think about the game differently.
Right, on that note, I think we'll wrap up. So, a couple of things to do before we wrap up. We're back on Saturday right after the game for quick bangs. If you're interested in appearing on the show, drop me a DM on Twitter. We'll get the details to you. Spaces go quite quickly, so get in touch as soon as you can. Also, to support the podcast, go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. You can watch the podcast on YouTube now as well if you don't want to just listen to us and you want to see our faces. Fuck knows why you would want to do that, but if you did, we are on YouTube. A lot of people seem to like it. So go on there, hit subscribe. Even if you don't intend on watching anything, go and hit the wee subscribe button. It helps us out. And we'll be back on Thursday with short bangers as well. So if you've got any questions for that, doesn't even have to be Hibs related anymore. Not that many of them are, but we're sort of evolving short bangers into more of a general discussion. So anything you want to ask us, send us a wee tweet and we'll cover it on Thursday. Till then, take care and we'll see you next time.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.